This podcast, The Good, the Bad and the Vagina, is brought to you by me, Tess Lovely, a retired midwife, birth keeper, mother and sovereign woman. The views shared are my own and those of my guests. If something doesn't resonate, release it. It's not meant to upset or offend. If you feel discomfort, please seek support for your own healing. If you don't like what you hear, don't listen. This space honours truth, freedom and expression, protected under the rights to free speech. Welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Vagina. Let's get started. Hello, Christelle, and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Vagina. I can't thank you enough for coming on and doing this talk with me, because you've got so much interesting and you're so knowledgeable about your research and reading that you've done in and around the birthing arena. And I was so excited when you agreed to come on. So just as a little bit of a background for everybody else, I met you during your pregnancy when I was employed. When I left my employment, I set up a group called Mum Space, and you've been a regular attender there. So that's how we've managed along on our journey together and where we are now today. What I'd like you to do is just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, your age, how you became a mum, and then a little bit about your birthing journey. And then we'll pick up on points along on that as we talk and share, if that's okay. So over to you, my beautiful Christelle.
Thank you. My name is Christelle. I'm 23 and a mother to a beautiful 2-year-old. I always knew I wanted to be a mother quite young. It was kind of a case of I turned 18 and was like, I want to be a mum. I think that's my calling. And it was like an intuitive thing, really. Currently a student studying psychology. I'm in my second year and I'm hoping to be an A-level teacher because I love teaching and I love passing on knowledge, which has been my strong suit in quite a lot of different walks of my life. I like to question things and pull things apart and critique them. So that's a big part of my personality, I think. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Beautiful. You and I met in your pregnancy with your little daughter. And I met you quite a way towards the end of your pregnancy. I'll give just a brief, without sharing any details. I met you when I was asked to make an appointment to see you to have a discussion around your iron levels, because your pregnancy iron levels were considered to be on the lower end of the normal range, probably a little bit below normal. And you were planning to have a home birth. I contacted you and said I'd like to have a conversation with you around your iron levels and your home birth. And I felt initially there was a little bit of resistance from you wanting to engage in this conversation with me, but I managed to reassure you that I was here to listen to your needs, and then we met. And would you like to pick up the story from that point and have a talk around your iron levels, your choice and decision for wanting to have a home birth, and just to give the listeners some idea about what you'd done, what reading you'd done, and how you'd come to this sort of point in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So way before I got pregnant, I'd actually been really inquisitive about birth, just particularly as a woman. And I think the way it's depicted in media is very scary. And I wanted to get to the bottom of whether someone can birth without intervention, without pain relief, and still have not a scary experience like it's depicted. So I did a bit of research. I was even looking into sort of people's accounts of their own home births, women's accounts of their own home birth. And I'd say like 99% of the time, and they would report that it was beautiful. Very rarely anything had gone wrong. And it was just a completely black and white difference between hospital births and home births. So it really drew me into having a home birth. And then I did some research on the statistics of interventions that aren't always necessarily needed, the cascade of interventions, the intrusion of obstetricians and things, and how that can actually cause more harm than good. And I just knew that that's what I wanted to do after all that. So most of my pregnancy was absolutely fine. In the beginning, I was very sick, and I think that might have contributed a little bit to my iron levels looking back. I don't know whether I quite qualified for hyperesmus, but I was throwing up a good, I think I counted like 8 to 10 times a day during the first part. And then I just wasn't able to eat very much. I think I actually lost a fair bit of weight. So towards the middle part of my pregnancy, I had a blood test and it came back that my iron wasn't at its best. That was kind of opening the door for them to say, well, you need to reconsider having a home birth. And obviously, I wasn't too pleased about that. And I felt as though I wasn't given the information that I was asking for. I wanted statistics and numbers and the actual likelihood of me becoming sick or it being dangerous for me to give birth at home. And nobody really could give me any answers apart from this is protocol, essentially. And I thought that that just wasn't good enough for me. So I did a bit of my own reading and I decided I was still going to have a home birth, but I automatically put this wall up because I thought, well, nobody's going to listen to me. So I need to really fight and advocate for myself. And I ended up sort of shutting down completely. Um, and then obviously I met you towards sort of the latter part of my pregnancy. And initially, when I first met you, I think I was very much like, I don't even know if I want this blood test because I'm afraid it's going to come back bad. And then they're just going to coax me into having a hospital birth because it doesn't fit their criteria and they don't want the liability of something going wrong, basically. And you were so supportive. It was like a shock to my system. I was like, I'm actually being listened to. This is weird. But I mean, it was wonderful, but it wasn't anything I'd really experienced in my whole pregnancy with meeting other midwives and things where I'd felt quite patronized and quite spoken down to. And you actually did give me a full picture of all the choices I had. I could have a hospital birth, I could have a home birth, um, and what things we could put in place in case I did need intervention. Like, for example, we I think we spoke about potential iron infusion if it was to get seriously low after I gave birth and how it wasn't necessarily low and iron levels fluctuate. And I feel like you just gave me a wealth of information that I didn't have before. So that was, and then, yeah, it was amazing.
I was quite impressed, if I'm honest, about the questions, the level and the depth of the questioning that you were asking. That you weren't just taking the first piece of information that was given. You wanted to like go to the next layer and the next layer and what else could be done other than just this is what we do and get on the path and do it. And so for me but what shone out about all of that for me was how knowledgeable and the depth of your knowledge and understanding in and around the aspects of care that we were raising with you. For me, it was beautiful. I loved seeing this young woman in front of me that was like, no, I'm stepping outside of this box and I'm going to do my reading and research and I'm going to do what's right for me. So for me, it was really beautiful. And your age was never really an issue or a concern for me. But did you feel sometimes, because nowadays, particularly, having a baby at 21 is seemed as quite young. Lots and lots of mums now are not choosing to become mummies until they're in their 30s. So did you
Mm.
find that your age was a hindrance at all upon your birthing journey?
I do think there were times where I felt very patronized, and I wondered whether some of the midwives that I spoke to would speak to older mothers the same way they spoke to me. It almost felt as though I was being spoken to as though I had no idea about anything. And it almost felt as though they thought because I was younger, I would be more susceptible to being coerced into things that were easier for them, or maybe just black and white. You know, maybe they've just never really had an opportunity to think outside of the tick box system that they're taught, unfortunately. So I did, yeah, at times I felt it was though they were trying to really skirt me. And the tone of their voice came across kind of rude at times as well. It was like, I'm not a child, I am a fully grown woman. And I actually do know how to do my own research and read and study different topics. I hate how there's this narrative as well of you have to be qualified to read statistics and research. Um, so there was a bit of that, particularly from one midwife who really was eager to have a phone consultation with me, even though I'd said to her, no, I'm happy with my choices quite a few times. She really spoke down to me, even down to sort of using words like darling, but like in a really patronizing way. So it didn't quite sit right with me. And it kind of made me feel as though I wasn't being spoken to like a person, which you gave back to me, which is why this wall came back down again, finally.
I can remember that phone call because I was actually in the office when that phone call happened, and I knew
Yeah.
that when I rang you that there would be a wall that I'd need to climb over again.
Yeah.
Um,
Just kind of built it back up.
but actually, it was fine because I think once we'd had the conversation again, and I was like, "You don't have to do anything that you don't want to. You're an intelligent
Mm,
woman. You are aware of the risks. You have informed me of what your understanding of everything is. I'm more than happy to continue on the journey that you wanting to go on because
mm,
for me as your midwife it was so important that you continued that engagement because
mm,
a lot of women when they feel that they meet that resistance they withdraw from care and that's much
mm,
less safe, whereas still having some element of engagement with you meant that there was still a huge protective factor there, that if at any point you went this doesn't feel right, you knew you had a
mm.
doorway where you could go and can I have some help, and you would be received warmly and lovingly. So I felt that was really, really important to keep that relationship going. And I was really
Mm,
pleased following that phone call that again we re engaged and all was well. The next part of your little journey, which was so wonderful and exciting, was when you went into labour. So you were planning this home birth, and I was on duty in the day. And you rang me and said, I don't know what's going on. So I said, look, I'll come and see you because I knew you were labouring, and I was really, really happy that one of my colleagues, Ellie, was on duty that night. So when I
mm.
came to you, you were going, "Am I in labour?" And I said, "I don't know. Are you? Do you feel like you're in labour?" And I knew you didn't want me to examine you. It wasn't anything on our agendas to even discuss or contemplate. But I sat with you, and I
Mm.
knew I could tell you were sort of
Yeah.
doing what you needed to do to be having a baby. I remember saying to you, the good news is that if you wait until 8 o'clock, Ellie comes on at 8 o'clock and then she will come and support you. I'd already spoken to her and I was feeling really, really happy and safe that I was leaving you in the hands of somebody that would get and understand you because you'd never met Ellie at this point. I believe, and I felt like I'd left you in this safe space with your Paul at
Mm,
home, with your partner, all the candles lit, everything was in this mood setting place. And off I tottered,
mm.
speaking to Ellie on the way home, saying, I think you'll be doing Christelle's birth tonight, just to preempt you. So I left you in this lovely safe space. Tell me the next part of your journey.
I had these two midwives come in, and I don't think they were in alignment with my mindset or how I wanted to do things because I was a little bit nervous because it was the first time I'd ever really given birth. I had no idea what to expect. So I wanted to know if I was in labor, but I didn't want an examination. And the issue with these two midwives is they were very insistent that they wouldn't be able to tell me for sure if I was in labor if I didn't have an examination. So I
Mm.
said no. I stood my ground politely, and I said no. I would rather not have any examinations. I don't actually want to put a timer on anything. I just kind of wanted to know if it was starting out of pure curiosity, I guess, and reassurance. Anyways, I didn't end up having an examination, but they put one of the heartbeat monitors on my stomach to listen to my daughter's heartbeat, and they picked up a reading that was slightly off. They did say it wasn't a massive difference, but because it was slightly different, we'd have to go into hospital. And I thought, okay, well, when it involves your child, I think that's when you feel even more nervous. Because if they'd have said it was about me and I might feel a bit uncomfortable, then I would have been able to surpass it. But when they sort of target your child in it, you'd think, well, I can't risk it. So I went to hospital, and that's where I met Ellie, and she was wonderful. I was so reassured, and the fact that you'd mentioned her name as well immediately, I just felt so much better because my labor had stalled. As soon as I got to hospital, I felt tense. I thought, oh, I'm going to give birth in hospital. This is not what I wanted. And I didn't feel safe because medical negligence as well, unsanitary environments a lot of the time, and overstaffed, lots of different things went through my mind. And the whole place, I mean, the particular hospital that we have down here, I think is really cold. It's just got this cold feeling. It's not very homely at all. I've seen some other wards that are a lot better. We then went home, and as soon as I got in the pool, I think I gave birth like an hour, if not less, later. And it was just like that. And it was so smooth and transition. I knew I was in transition without needing a cervical exam, which is something that I was told I wouldn't know because apparently I don't know my own body. Um, and I didn't have any, I wasn't told how to push. I didn't have coached pushing. Ellie respected every single thing. And I'm so grateful that I had her because I know it could have gone a lot different. And I'm so grateful that I had you in the beginning to calm me down when I was in that uncertain phase of, not trusting myself as much as I would have. So yeah, it was beautiful.
It's so beautiful to hear that you felt like that your birth was a beautiful. For me, what really stands out is the real polarizations of the the care or the experience that you
Mm,
have according to the person in front of you and the difference how that made you feel. One of the things that you identified without any sort of guidance is that your labour stalled, that you went into hospital and your labour stalled. And one of the reasons for that is the hormones that you need to have a baby. It's a symphony of hormones. And when you release adrenaline or cortisone, it just stops that hormone immediately. And so going into hospital, your labour stops. But interesting then when you come home and you feel safe, your labour just goes and you have a beautiful baby. How amazing was that?
that transition was amazing. Like, it really did set in my mind that I knew intuitively what was best for me and my baby, and I held strong in that in the end. Um, I thought to mention, just because this is really funny, but one thing about those two midwives as well is that they didn't actually seem that knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So when I got out the pool to get dressed to go to hospital, they looked in the pool. They didn't pick anything up, but they looked at the pool in the bottom. There was this like thing at the bottom, and we looking back, it was the pool plug, and they said that that was my mucus plug, and it was hilarious because obviously it's just a bit unprofessional, like they don't know what they're doing. They didn't even pull it out the pool. They were just like, "Well, that's your mucus plug, which means you might give birth soon." And I was thinking, I don't feel like I'm gonna give birth soon.
One of the big subjects that I talk quite a lot about is fear and the influence fear has on birth, but on our life in general, but also
Mm,
when you're fearful in a professional basis, how then that
mm,
can distort your sort of knowledge and your understanding of the pathway that you're on. And if you're
mm,
uncomfortable with going to home births, because it's not something that as a midwife you go to very much, you're going to come in with your own baggage into that arena. I'm a big advocate for having home birth teams because I think there's a huge divide in maternity care now in terms of having obstetric midwifery and birthing midwifery. Do you feel that that's something that you can feel from professionals when you've met them?
yeah, there are certain people I meet, and within the first sort of minute, I know I'm secure with them. And there's other professionals that I meet, and I feel like they're just not as open-minded. And I try to give them the benefit of the doubt looking back because they might not have experienced seeing a beautiful home birth without any interventions. They might have only seen sort of the rush of cascade of interventions and the purple pushing and telling a woman how to birth, and that mistrust in the woman. That's kind of they've learned and they've picked up on that journey. So I'd love for it to be standard practice for midwives to see more of those kinds of births. And yeah, like you say, for there to be a proper support network for those who do want to home birth.
I think it's a really integral part of our birthing journeys now.
Mm,
Um, so you'd had this beautiful home birth. I do remember Ellie
yeah.
ringing me up at one point going, "Oh, Tess, Christelle's a bit pale and pasty. What shall I do?" And
Yes.
I went, "Give us some peanut butter and bananas."
It was the best peanut butter and banana toast I've ever had in my life.
We do laugh
I
about
woke
that.
up to the smell of it and it was like just revived me.
I do laugh about it, but it is such a recharge. It is my go-to for if people are feeling a little bit low on blood sugars. It's a big thing that you do, giving birth to a whole human being. I mean,
Yeah.
we are incredible as women. We create a
Mm.
whole new organ so that we can then create a miracle of a baby inside of us and we grow it and we birth it. That is awesome. We are absolutely awesome. And you did that. You were magnificent and you did that. And that's amazing. And then you had a little girl and you had all that beautiful skin to skin and lovely time. And then after a little while, there was a small concern, more so from
Mm,
your partner, that,
mm,
and quite rightly so, when you're a newborn mum and there's a lot of sort of information out there that can be quite scary. There was a little incident where you were a bit worried about her breathing, and quite rightly and very honourably, you did the right thing to go and get her checked out, because you're a new mum with a newborn baby
mm.
and it's essential. It shows really great maternal protective factors. Your heart was saying one thing, but you still felt the right thing to do was to go in and get her checked out. Do you want to talk a little
Yeah,
bit around that? Because it became not about her, it became about you, didn't it?
it did. Yeah, it was so, like you say, initially I panicked and my partner panicked. Um, I feel like my instinct was telling me that it was fine and it was probably just splutter from having too much milk or something. But my partner really started to panic, and then I panicked and I thought, well, it's better to get her checked out. I wouldn't want to leave it and then something terrible happened. So we went to hospital, and the first doctor that came to see her put one of those little monitors on her foot and said she was fine and then walked off. And we would have just gone home after that. But then a nurse stepped in and said she wasn't happy with the fact that he read the monitor so quickly and that he just wanted to go home and get off his shift. Um, and so then we started talking about my birth, and she was like, "Oh, well, you do look a bit pasty. Have you had any blood tests since then?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I know." I kind of overshared and was like, my iron was quite low at one point, and they were quite worried about me. But I said I feel okay. Um, and then she was like, "Well, why don't we keep you in, and we'll do some blood tests and sort of teach you how to breastfeed and everything at the same time." So they put me on this breastfeeding unit. Um, and I can't stand being in hospital, so it wasn't the best environment for me to be in. But obviously, I just felt a bit nervous after they said that, and being vulnerable and literally just having had a baby, I was quite susceptible to the fear mongering side of things. So they did a blood test and it came back that my iron was like quite bad, according to them. Um, I think within the 60s HB level. Um, I didn't actually feel much different. The only thing I felt was slightly tired. I didn't feel like I was going to drop dead any minute. So I had some consultants come in. I think it was 3 different consultants because I was very on the fence about what decision I was going to make. And initially, they wanted me to have a blood transfusion, and it's not something that I would really consider unless I was actively dying and severely unwell for several reasons. I have my own sort of personal, spiritual, if you will, um, and health risk reasons, really. So I was like, I don't want that at all. I'm happy to just go home and be on bed rest and try and bring it up naturally with supplements. They weren't having any of it. So eventually I said, well, my middle ground would be an iron transfusion. And they still kept sending in. I think I probably had about 5 consultants by the end of that day, which was ridiculous, saying that I had to have a blood transfusion. The iron transfusion won't diffuse into my system fast enough. I felt so disempowered. I remember ringing you and I was terrified. I was like, I really don't want to have a blood transfusion. They're pressuring me. Um, and my mum, bless her, they kind of went for her as well because it was almost like, well, if they can't get through to me, they'll get through to my mum because they know I trust my mum, which I thought was a bit crafty. So obviously my mum being a concerned mum was like, you need to have something. So I had the iron transfusion, which looking back, I'm not even sure if I'd have had because they never provided me with any numbers that I asked them for. They didn't tell me the likelihood of me having a heart attack that they said I was going to have if I didn't have this transfusion. They said I would just drop dead. There'd be no symptoms. I could be bathing my child and I'd drop dead. And if there was no one around, my child could be at risk as well. So there was loads of different factors that we used to make me make that decision. But yeah, looking back and after having looked into the statistics of somebody with a HB that low, but being a normal, healthy young woman with no pre-existing health risks, I probably wouldn't have taken it.
When I had my third child, I had him at home and I had a bit of a heavy loss, a bit like you, had probably had a bit of a low iron level before I started. And my iron level was 6.3.
Yeah,
Now they call it 63, but it was 6.3. And a blood transfusion wasn't even mentioned to me. It was like, if you become symptomatic, then we will treat you. Had you said to them, please, may I have a blood transfusion? I wonder if they would have said no. But because it was you saying no, they were like,
exactly. I told them surely I would have some sort of symptoms if I was to have a heart attack, or not even have a heart attack, but have some sort of heart arrhythmia or problems. They even did like a blood pressure thing, which seemed relatively okay. And every single time they were almost confused as to why my blood pressure seemed fine, even though my iron was low. I seemed okay. And there was one nurse who actually came in and said, if my HB was that low, I'd be on the floor. And I'm like, well, I'm not on the floor. I'm sat on the bed upright. I'm able to talk. Like my breathing feels fine. I don't actually feel much different than I normally do, which says to me that I usually have a low iron anyway. So this isn't probably that much different for me.
mm,
So yeah,
yeah. But the self-assessment is really good. It's a really great
Mm,
way to be empowered. But when you are being disempowered, the
mm.
whole um the whole power balance changes, and then you start doubting yourself. Did you feel at times that you were double questioning yourself about whether or not you were making the right choices?
Yeah, definitely. I One of the first things I do when I have to accept some sort of medical intervention is obviously weigh up the pros and cons. And I felt like my rational mind wasn't as active because I just went into panic mode. I'm usually quite nonchalant. I'm like, oh, I don't feel bad. I'll just go home and wing it. But because they got into my head and overrid that sort of rational side of me, I then just was making decisions based out of fear, I think. And also, again, when they bring your baby into it, you think, well, it's not just me now. What if I do? What if I did go home? And what if I just died and Melody wouldn't have a mum? And I couldn't think past that. And I think probably a few months after having the iron transfusion, actually looked in the insert of what I'd been given. I actually can't remember the name of the substance now, but obviously it was synthetic. And I found out, like many drugs, it hasn't been evaluated for carcinogenity and a lot of things like that that concern me. Some of those things I would have probably changed my mind a little bit. Iron transfusions, as far as I'm aware, haven't been used for very long, so we don't actually know the long-term risks of putting that much iron into your body in one go, and how your body might react to that. I mean, surely that's quite a shock to the body if you've adapted to low levels for such a long time. Those were some of the questions I had afterwards. So yeah, it definitely did warp my own rational mind.
And those questions for me would demonstrate your level of intelligence and exploration around a subject. That's why I never had any doubts about you making choices and decisions that felt right for you, because you demonstrate a huge amount of insight without any medical knowledge or background. You're not a medical student, you're a
Mm.
psychology student. So well done to
Yes.
you, very impressive.
Thank you.
Uh, when you then came away from that scenario, did you feel that that
Mm.
impacted at all on your next part of your journey? Did you feel that that gave you another space where you were sort of going, I really don't want any more health professionals involved? Do you feel it's kind of influenced you at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was so afraid of anything medical. I mean, I generally don't like anything medical, but I was almost afraid that even if I was in a situation where I did need something medical, I would have maybe rejected it irrationally because I was so afraid and distrusting of um, the people that I'd spoken to. And again, I think this is why you and Ellie were such an integral part of my journey in postpartum as well, because I actually declined health visitors. I wasn't keen on the way the advice was given. It felt, again, patronising, coercive after I declined a few things. Um, even after having explained the statistics and explaining the risks and benefits to having these different tests and stuff. Um, it just felt like it wasn't in alignment with me. So I was very grateful to have you and Ellie for the rest of my postpartum. After that, I think I was just a bit unsure and maybe more vulnerable than I would have been if none of that had really happened. I mean, I wouldn't have even known my HB was that low if I hadn't had that test. I'd have
No.
probably been exactly the same what you were and just gone about my life, and it would have leveled itself out the way our bodies do.
Our bodies are incredible tools if we put the right amount of
Mm,
fluid into it. One of the things
mm.
I've started saying to a lot of dads that I work with is that if I gave you a Lamborghini car at the
Yeah.
beginning of your driving career and said that is the only car that you are going to have the whole of your life, they would treat it with such reverence. Do you know what I mean? They'd put the best petrol in
Yes.
it, the best oil. They would service it every 5 minutes. They'd be polishing it, cleaning it, and looking after it. And yet, our bodies are our Lamborghinis, and yet
Yeah.
we don't treat our bodies in that beautiful, wholesome way. Now, I know you do. I know you're very aware. We talk a lot about the biggest drug on the planet, which is sugar. So I'm very aware that you are sensitive to sugar intake. We recently
Yeah.
had an experience where you had a little bit too much sugar and then you felt like all your internal balances were a little bit off kilter. And it's interesting that that subject is not really talked about within a care system.
Yeah, diets. I don't think again, until I met you, diet was never mentioned to me, especially when it came to my iron. It was very much, "You'll have to take supplements, diet won't work." And there was, one point actually where my blood did go up very, very slightly, but in a whole week it had gone up by, I guess it was 61 to 63 or something, and it was because I was taking blackstrap molasses, and I had, like, a whole plethora of iron foods. I probably overdosed myself on iron, and it probably would have just sort of slowly gone up if I had trusted myself. Diet is so important, and like you say, sugar, we wonder why we have so much brain fog. I cut out sugar for about a week, and I realized the withdrawals were so bad, and then once I got past that point, it was really strange. I felt like a different person. I was really alert, and I could almost process things faster. Um, and then I had sugar again just to kind of see what would happen, almost like a personal experiment. And I got brain fog. I felt slow. My mood shifted so much throughout the day. So I think it is quite a drug, really.
I think it is the
Mm.
biggest drug on the planet. I talk a lot about that, and I think that we're not
Yeah.
educated enough around it. And there's so much hidden sugar as well. And I don't
Mm,
believe, I think natural sugars that you find in fruit and things like that, I think are a great way to taste that freshness of sugar. And but actually, chocolate bars, donuts, and all of that is,
mm.
a big no-no in my world.
Yeah. We
Um,
try and avoid it as much as possible.
So you had this beautiful baby. You went on your parenting journey, which I've been witness to it because I set up Mum Space, and you've been a regular attender. And it's been beautiful watching you grow and share and support other mums, and other mums are able then to give you some support. And this space
Mm,
is just where women hold each other. And I set up Mum Space in particular because a lot of mum and baby groups are more focused around the babies. And I wanted it to be
mm,
2 hours a week just for the mums,
mm,
just to be thinking about you and putting your priorities first. Um,
mm.
and I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that coming to that space enabled you to start putting your needs up high, because if your needs are not met, then you can't really be the best version of yourself for your baby. Did you find the groups really beneficial, and how did they help you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I flourished after having that kind of space where after just early postpartum, I felt really disempowered and vulnerable and like I didn't know what I was doing and I couldn't trust myself. I came to Mum Space and I just felt so much love from everybody and so much acceptance. We're all so different. The way we parent in different ways. We share knowledge with each other. No one's judged. I wasn't judged for being young, or I wasn't judged for my views on certain things. And it was such an open space, and it was a breath of fresh air. And when you sometimes go to some other groups that feel, like you say, very focused on the babies, which is all well and good, but then you need your own space so you can support your baby, and this is what the group gave me, and I met so many wonderful people that I still speak to. Um, so yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. I'm still enjoying going so
Mm.
much and watching my little one as well grow up around this amazing community of mums where we all just support each other, and seeing that, hopefully that kind of ingrains in her as well.
It's like creating a village, isn't it? Your village of people, because I think that's kind of what's missing out of maternity care now and community care. We don't have those
Mm,
villages anymore. One of the things that I really loved flourishing in you was that point where we were doing a sharing bit where we were all sitting talking, and then you kind of went, I've decided I'm going back to uni. I'm going to go and do my degree. And I can remember just thinking, that is such good news. It's an awful lot of work, and hats off to you to juggle
thank
all of
you.
those things. But for me, it really lifted my heart because I thought you are able to love, nurture, develop, grow, feed, stimulate this beautiful baby that you've got in front of you and find time to think, I'm important in this journey and this is what I want
Mm.
to do for me. How has it been juggling that part of the journey? Because obviously, when a baby's quite small, they're there. As they start developing, talking, walking, their needs get bigger, different. How do
Yeah.
you manage that sort of scenario and what you've been doing over the last 18 months, 2 years?
So initially, I would say it was easier when she was younger, when she was a newborn, because she would nap so much more. So I would have time to structure my assignments and everything. And I think actually going back to university gave me that sort of mental stimulation that I needed. I ended up in a bit of a kind of rut. Like, I need to do something productive. I need to do something that I'm passionate about. Otherwise, I'm just going to get stuck in a loop of not really having a purpose or knowing where I'm going with things. So, um, I went back to uni, really, really enjoyed it. I'm still enjoying it. But as she's gotten older, yeah, it has gotten a bit harder. I think nowadays there's so much more support for mums than what I've been told previously. There's a lot of financial support in terms of student finance, which helps you if you're struggling, with bills and things, so that you can have an education and you don't also then have to work full time alongside that education, like a lot of my lecturers did, which makes it so much better. Um, and then in terms of childcare as well, there's a lot of childcare support there as well. So I felt very, very supported. And again, having that network of, I go to uni in the week and I come to mum's space and I can vent out any stress I might have and then share like a lovely open space and a lot of positivity with other mums. And a lot of other mums there um, study as well, or have partners that are studying too. I think in terms of balancing my time, it's given me something proactive to do, and I just make very, very structured lists, like down to the minute. I'm like, right, I've got 20 minutes today to write 3 sentences, and they can be mumbo jumbo, they can be rubbish, but I can then go back and refine them. And I had a point that I was making. So that's how I kind of do it, I think. Just about.
I remember when I had Louis, my third one, and I had him at
Mm,
home, that's when I decided I was gonna become a midwife. You've heard my journey about,
yeah,
um,
it
how I
was really
became a midwife.
inspirational.
Oh, so when I then became a midwife, I then split up with my children's dad. Louis was a baby. So I embarked on this midwifery career with 3 small children, 5 and under, full-time midwifery course, working part-time as well. I look back and like I couldn't do that now, but that's because I'm a lot older. But I look and I think, us women, we are phenomenal that we can do. We just have this ability to meet all of these needs. We could meet our own needs. We can meet the needs of our children. We can cook, clean, wash, iron, do all those things, whatever we need to do, and still find time to do a bit of studying on top of that. And I just think it's absolutely incredible when the power within us. When we step into our power, when you stepped into your power with your blood tests, when you stepped into your power with
Mm.
your birth, when you stepped into your power doing your maternal journey, and then into your power doing your psychology degree, it makes me think, aren't we amazing? Aren't women just I don't know if you can see, but I get really excited.
I totally get it. I think this is the most powerful I've ever felt in my entire life, and I think before having a baby, I couldn't have even imagined being able to balance any of it. It's almost like since becoming a mother, it's made me realize how, like you say, amazing we are as women to be able to balance everything, and we just do it. I don't even know necessarily sometimes how to describe it. It just happens naturally. It's amazing.
So one of the questions that I've been asking people that I come on is, what would you say was the potentially the hardest or the worst or the most difficult part of your journey becoming a mother? And what was
Mm.
the absolute, oh my gosh, this is amazing and I've really got this all sorted, and awesomeness about it?
So I think the worst part was definitely having to go to hospital, ending up in hospital. I'd say in both scenarios, really, like in the middle of my birth, where that dread set in of I'm going to end up in hospital, I'm going to have the cascade of interventions, and I'm going to feel so out of control. And yeah, even worried about my daughter's safety and everything. And the second time having to have the iron transfusion, which I've not had a medical intervention in probably since I was a child. It was just really uncomfortable and I felt really vulnerable. And the best time was definitely giving birth. I look back at it so fondly and I'm so grateful for that because I know that for a lot of mums, it doesn't go the way that they would have liked. Uh, so yeah, I'm so, so grateful for that. And I think even moments within my birth, even though obviously it can be quite painful and it's a bit intense, I was never scared. I thought I'd be really scared and I wasn't. And I felt so powerful, like a warrior woman. And I actually realized my potential and how much I can take and tolerate. And I felt so empowered. Um, and then she was born, and I think seeing her for the first time after growing this life in me for 9 months was just phenomenal. As I just can't even describe it. It was amazing.
Yeah, there are no words. I can remember when my first
Yeah.
baby was born, Amber, and I looked down at her and I remember
Mm.
thinking, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's my mum loves me this much.
Yeah.
It was
It's
so,
a
oh
different
my
kind of
God.
love you've never experienced.
Yeah. No wonder she never wanted me to go out.
Yeah, yeah. I totally it all makes sense. It's like a full circle moment. Um, even now, I'm so paranoid about her and I'm telling her no, and I'm like, "Oh, that's why my mum wouldn't let me do those things." And I'm like, even thinking about when she's a teenager one day, I'm like, "Right, I would not be letting her do those things either."
One of the biggest lessons I think that we have as parents when we step into our motherhood is about giving our children the roots to grow, making sure that the
Mm,
soil that they're growing in is beautiful and it's rich and nourishing and all of that. So giving them real
mm,
earthy roots for them to grow, but also
mm.
recognizing that we have to give them the wings to fly. Getting that balance can be really, really difficult. Um, and that's why I find our village is a really safe space to kind of have those conversations, because sometimes when you're emotionally embroiled in a situation, it's very hard to see it from a different perspective, isn't it? When I meet people, when meet you, I look at your gentleness and your sweetness and your kindness, and I think, I want a bit of that in me. And
Thank you.
I want that to be reflected in me. And that's what I like about
Mm,
villages and groups, is that we can look around and take things from people that we see and go, that's beautiful, that is. I'm going to put that my into my mix of life.
And I think I've seen that in, like, each and every person that's been to Mum Space. I think when I first met you, I loved the nurturing and safety that you made me feel, and I hope that that kind of inspires me to be a safe space for other mums who are questioning their different choices or feel a bit unsure, and they can just come to me and say anything to me, and I would be so loving and accepting of them. Yeah, it's so many different mums there. Some of them are really powerful and so knowledgeable about managing multiple children. And there's a lady there. She's called Hannah. She's brilliant. She teaches about parenting in particular and different parenting practices and how to handle different situations that I wouldn't have even began to know how to handle as a first time mum. So she's been like really, really amazing as well.
I love Hannah. When I watch her, that serene calmness, and I always think, I wonder, because for me, I'd be enraged inside probably, but she just has this beautiful sereneness around her. As I've got teenagers now, so you can imagine some of the challenges that the teenagers. I'll come away from Mum's Space and I'll be presented with a teenage challenge, and I'll go, "Remember, Hannah?" To respond, "I know you must be feeling a little bit like that at the moment. I totally understand it."
Really taught me how to separate myself in a moment where I'm feeling really overwhelmed and think, right, how do I actually begin to approach this without acting directly on my emotions and actually how to best deal with the situation at hand so that me and my child both feel safe and we both feel like we understand each other clearly, even in different ways, even if she doesn't fully understand the words that are coming out my mouth. Like, she understands the sense of security that I'm giving her in a moment where she feels really overwhelmed. And I think that Hannah's inspired that in me. That's quite beautiful.
I'm hoping Hannah will come and have a little chat on here so she can share her wealth of knowledge with more people, because I think it would be really beautiful. Nice that, it's nice to hear that you've been able to grow because of the other mums in the group, but also as well knowing that other mums have grown from the sort of the support that you've given to them as well. I love it. I love it. If there was one thing that you could say to a new mum, came along to one of Mum's Space sessions, and there's a young mum there who
Yeah.
is pregnant, and
Mm.
you were to sit and just have a chat with her, what sort of support, words of wisdom that you've gathered along on your journey would you feel that would be a real golden gem to pass over to this beautiful pregnant young mum?
My gut's telling me to say advocate for yourself. If I was to talk to like a young mum who's a bit unsure and a bit nervous and needs some advice, I would say trust yourself. Um, be an advocate for yourself. If you want something, if you don't want something, if you feel there's something wrong and you need to be heard, or you feel there's not something wrong and you're being pushed to do something that you don't feel is right for you and your baby, be a voice for yourself. Or if you can't be a voice for yourself, have an advocate with you, like your husband. Go through your birth plan with him, go through your feelings with him, a birth keeper, doula. There's so many different support systems that you can have around you to make sure that you feel safe and protected and that your space is being respected.
That's beautiful, because it's all so empowering to be saying, be an advocate for yourself. And if you can't get that help, get that support, because it's so invaluable.
I would hope that we would all be that support net as well, and particularly you as well, because you have that knowledge. I just feel like everyone who meets you just feels so, and particularly me as well, just feels so safe, and I trust you so much.
I love working, as you know, I love pregnant women. I love working with women going through this birthing journey. I love watching them grow afterwards. It just really energizes me, because I feel
Mm.
that we're so blessed that we can go along on this journey together as a village of women, and just know that we can be united, and that we don't always get it right, but we're not here to judge. We do the best that we can. And actually, those beautiful babies and children that you all produce, and how different they all are, and then people can then sort of recognise if our babies are all different and then we're all different, and we don't all have to have the same pushchair, and we don't all have to make the same choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved that. I could speak with a mother who was, like, completely stark different views than me in terms of anything, birth, pregnancy, choices for our children, and still have a respectful and super interesting conversation actually, because then I get insight into her and she gets insight into me, and it's this beautiful, space that you don't get in a lot of places.
Mm, beautiful.
Mm,
So, what's the next
yeah.
steps for Christelle on her journey?
So I'm hoping to well, I'm going to finish my, psychology degree. Got to finish my foundation first, and then I do another year, and it makes it a full bachelor's. Then I'm qualified. And then I've got a year of teacher training, and then hopefully, I will streamline into A-level teaching. I think my end goal is lecturing. Just having been a university student myself, I hope I can support university students, especially mothers and people that don't think they can do it or have come from difficult backgrounds, that they can. Anybody can go and do a degree and learn a new skill. Um, so yeah, that's my journey, and then hopefully just be a good mum and shape my little one into the beautiful social butterfly that she seems to be becoming.
Oh, you are a good mum, Christelle. You're doing an amazing job with with your little one. Absolutely beautiful, and I love the way that you protect her because we had a conversation about not mentioning names, and I love the way that you don't engage on the social media aspect, and you're quite protective of her. I love your unique wonderfulness of how you present yourself in the universe, and so keep in that keep in that lane, keep in that Christelle space of beautifulness, because we are, as human beings, we are so wonderfully, beautifully, uniquely, perfectly flawed, exactly the way we are and the way we present ourselves, and that should all be loved and nurtured however it is. And that's kind of
Yeah.
like the message that I always try to get over to people. You are who you are, and that's okay. It's okay to be brilliant some days and not so good on other days, and that's okay. That's life, isn't it? There are some days
Yeah,
when I
that's the beauty of
pitched
it.
up at mum's space going, "Ah, today I'm not feeling the love."
Yeah, but then
And
it's
actually,
just
you guys
flow.
have
It
all been there to catch me, which has been incredible.
times where you've maybe been a little bit not quite sure where to go next. We've all tried to be like, "Keep going. What you have is amazing. You have so much to contribute. Don't give up. Keep going.
Well,
You're such an amazing person, and you can help so many people, and you already have, and now you're doing it all on your own." And
yeah, but I have my village around me. I
we
can't have done it without the support and the love of you beautiful villagers that I have. So it's been, as always, a beautiful conversation because we do share some really lovely conversations. I can't thank you enough for being so open and honest about how you felt. I'm sure that the people hearing this will be listening to that going, that woman is incredible, because you really, really are incredible. And I look forward to seeing you in the very near future.
yeah,
And thanks for coming on. Thank you for sharing.
for giving me a space to talk about all of these amazing things.
Anytime. And hopefully this will be a long, ongoing thing. And
Mm.
if you do decide to embark along another pregnancy journey, maybe it could be a journey shared on the good, the bad, and the vagina.
Yeah,
It's been wonderful, Christo, and I really can't thank you from the bottom of my heart enough. And I look forward to seeing you really soon.
yeah. Look
Mhm.
forward to seeing you.
Big love.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.